Well, we always like to be called a traveller.
But you don't travel anymore. I mean, you were a settled
No,
person.
but still and all, I'm a traveller.
I think what it means is, sir, that all the travellers community, they like to stick together because, you know, they're very like people to each other, as I told you last night, you know?
Yes.
So, no matter where you go or where you don't go, if you're a stranger yourself and you see a traveller, you approach them before you approach anybody else.
I just unemployed at the moment now, you know. I just get a few bob and exchange in at the moment. If I got a job now, I'd take one, you know.
What are you good at?
Well, I was working in the council for over 12 months now, and I was working in Dunn stores for 2.5 years. So that was fairly good there, but I hadn't got the proper education for the. I'd never get any higher, you know.
Can you read?
I can read a good bit, yeah.
Things got much better since my children was very small, you know. Things got much better since then now that corporations helping them, they're social workers that they didn't have like years ago, you know. So I think the travelling children stands a lot of better chance today now.
So have you more faith in the people who are looking after you? Is that... To grow up in the world of travelling people is to be subjected to degradation, to be mistrusted and despised as something alien to mankind. It's all too easy to draw parallels between the white settlers and the treatment they meted out to the Indians of North America. Indians who were driven from their homelands, cheated by the state, rounded up and dumped on reservations, and then ignored, left to rot, to drink their unhappy lives to death. But we don't have such a big country that we can put our problems out of sight, and travellers are a complex problem. Plans we may have made for them, but how many have seen fruition?
In Dublin now, we find why you have all travellers now situated, say in Clondalkin or Tallaght or around Coolock, is the traditional camping spots have been all built on, or closed in by the corporation or county council, or redeveloped. And like when they get a place like to pull in with other travellers, they know if they pull out of there, it's impossible to get a traditional camping spot again. So that's why you have them all in droves now, because it's very, very hard to find a camping spot now without pulling it aside, and then again there's no sites, you know. So we're in a catch-22 here. But of course the travellers coming out the worst out of it.
Travellers and rubbish dumps have become one in most people's minds. We consign them both to the scrap heap. Who needs them? Tinkers, what good are they? They're only rubbish anyway. They're always drunk too. Have you ever seen one sober?
So I can manage, I can get on in the government's money, and I have my family, my home to keep, gas to buy and fire, and I can manage. So everybody else could manage the same ways, except somebody be fond of maybe drink or things like that.
But would you say that travelling people drink more than anybody else?
Well, nearly sometimes, so. And forgetting that now they're not a type of travellers for drinking it now, but they might take a few drinks around Christmas, but they won't do themselves no harm. You know, they won't leave their home short or their children short.
But like it's no good painting all travellers with the one brush. I mean, like there is travellers, I mean the majority of travellers go out once a week and have a drink. But then again you could all get all dressed up and get used to it when you go on out and you won't be served in pubs. And that's how you get, sometimes you get travellers drinking out on the streets and out on the side of the roads, because they're sick going to pubs that won't serve them, you know.
Are they afraid that they're going to get wild in the pub? What's the reason for it?
Like, I don't know if you know, but like, if I dress up here, right, and take me woman out, and I grab a few travellers out to the pub, It's very degrading when you go into a pub and say, sorry, you're not being served. And you go into that pub, say in town now, and you see black people standing at the bar, you see Chinese people standing at the bar, and you see all sorts of nationalist people standing at the bar. Except, and your traveller goes in, sorry, you can't be served. And you ask him why. He says, sorry, I don't have to give you a reason why.
Attitudes shaped by time but not by truth, fashioned by generalization, by hearsay, but not by fact. They have to manage like all of us, on whatever the government hands out when there's no hope of anything better. And somehow, most of them do manage.
A few months ago it was very nice to be a traveller, but it's very hard to explain those robberies and things about people that one time ago that you were very welcome at the doors and the people and women and men was very good to you, where they lost their interest in upon you, do you understand me? And
They got afraid?
They got frightened of you. Now they don't have to be frightened of the biggest majority of travelling people because they have children to look after. They feared something would happen to their children if they done something wrong. But then how do they know what traveller that they need to be afraid of? It's a big problem, like, you know, if we have got that name. Well, that's, like, it took me back a bit, and I'm a shy kind of a person, you know, through the country of people, to talk to them. And that, even when I go to maybe to a country house today, that keeps lying in the back of my mind, am I one of those people that are blaming, that are thinking about, am I one of these people that done that too? But I know myself inside of me that I amn't. If I could only tell them, I wouldn't like it even ever to happen.
So it's making pretty hard for you to...
It's making it pretty hard, yeah. There's a lot of our lads since England over this went away, since Christmas, went away to England. Now I was in England for 5 months last summer, and if things doesn't change, I suppose we'll break up a home here and go away for life.
And you'll leave your settled house, you'll leave it?
Yeah, I would, yeah, because Minceir, like, if we find guilty of anything going wrong or anything like that, to say we live off. Well, if this is a true thing, I don't know whether it happened or not, but if it's true that the travellers is at it, whatever couple of ages is at it, didn't make a great future for the younger youth and generation that's grown up behind them. Even if they were better of 5 or 6 or 7, 10,000 of it, it still was no addition. You know what I mean to say? Like, it wasn't even benefited us, our younger generation growing up, because we were always trusted people, but not trusted that much, but we were always fairly well trusted.
There are other equally spurious arguments put forward about how wonderful it is to live like travellers out on the road, free as a bird. No rent, living tax-free, never taxing or insuring their vans. But it's not true of all of them. Such statements are mischievous, or at least misguided.
I think they're they're misguided people. Because if I go out and buy a box of matches, if I go out to buy a needle, if I go out to buy a bottle of milk for my kid, I'm paying taxes on it. Now I'm only getting a label. And if I go out and buy something out of that label I'm getting, I'm paying taxes. Everything I buy I'm paying taxes on. Now how can they say to me I'm not paying taxes? I'm paying it every day. Everything I buy I'm paying taxes on. If I only walk on the road I'm paying taxes. You know? That's what I say to them people. Everyone pays taxes.
And what about the other thing, the business of not paying road tax and insurance? Are travellers aware of the dangers of not paying the tax, or is it simply they haven't got the money? What's the reason? Because some travellers seem to have some very fancy vans, the high-ace vans.
They have, but the travellers that would have the fancy vans, most of them would be insured. But then again, like, you can't start generalising again travellers. There's 20,000 travellers in this island. There's 3.5 or 4 million people. And by the statistics now, a quarter of the people in Ireland are driving around with insurance and tax. Anyway, in this country anyway, how much do you pay for insurance? I mean, like, I went in for insurance here a while back and he asked me £1,300. When I was over in England there 3 years ago, I got insurance for £60. So, like, you know, the insurance is terrible there in this country. Now, as well as that, the car to a traveller, or the van, is the equivalent of the horse. Because when we, going back a good few years ago, you had a horse and you had a wagon. Now you have the trailer and you have the car. Without a car, you can't move. Now, if the police come along or the county council and they want you to move, how are you going to move without a car? You know? So it's the equivalent of the horse. And especially in this side here. If the travellers on this side hadn't got a car, they might end up dying in it, because you have to go 3 miles for water that way. You have to go 2 miles to a shop that way, and there's no bus or nothing around here.
So, how do they spend their time in the little hovels we put them in? Cramped conditions out in the wide beyond, away from shops and simple things like water.
I go around with my own family to pass the time away.
And what would you do when you were passing the time?
Well, nearly nothing, you know. There's nothing.
Sometimes
Just
they'll
chatting
play
and
cards.
play cards or do something. There's not very much to look forward to, you know, day in, day out. You know, I just only mix like they're all living here and there, and I don't go to them.
Yeah. What about yourself? What do you do? I mean,
I don't go anywhere. I just have to mass. I just stay in the caravan and cook for the children. I come out at night and I go in and look at television in son's house. But out from that I don't go anywhere except to go for messages uptown.
The charter, well, there's lots of good things in this charter. Well, that was adopted by the National Committee in last November, and there's everything on it that travellers wants. But since the National Committee adopted it, there hasn't been a whisper out of it.
what have you done about trying to get the Minister, say, for Health and...
At the moment, we've asked the Minister for Health and we've asked the Minister for Environment about bringing out an anti-discrimination bill or racialist equality laws, somewhere that we can go and we can voice our opposition to these things. But at the moment, there's absolutely nothing we can do.